I talk, you listen, or you turn the channel. Either way, I'm still going to talk. Welcome to Unfiltered. Another great week just passed. It's been threatening to rain for 2 weeks and it hasn't rained yet, and we need the rain bad. But a story from last week involving sunbathers. Now let me tell you a few things that you don't learn in school that should just be automatic. Number one, don't sunbathe on train tracks. Granted, it's open space and they seem to attract sunlight for some reason. I don't know. But find a beach or a field or a roof maybe. But not someplace where a train is going to go by and cut you in half, which is what happened to 2 girls right here in New Hampshire. Sunbathing on the railroad tracks. Just I didn't see how old they were. Imagine teenagers, I think. But if that's what our kids think like, we're definitely doing something wrong. I mean, even one of the big things driving truck is railroad crossings. And not so much around here anymore because the railroads have gone the way of the dodo bird or whatever. But out west, at the Midwest, central part of the United States, rail use is still very high, and a lot of accidents happen at railroad crossings. I mean, it's just a fact of life, but up here in New Hampshire, kids don't know about trains because they've never seen one. I mean, if a kid's been born in Keene in the last 20 years, they've never seen a train unless they've gone somewhere else to see it. But yeah, train tracks, you know, you wouldn't sunbathe on an interstate, I'm pretty sure. You know, I mean, maybe somebody would. But that was crazy. Another big story this week, actually Tuesday night, Tuesday night. Barack Obama became apparently the presumptive candidate for the Democrats. And apparently on Saturday, Hillary's going to give her big concession speech and be out of the race or something. I don't know. But it looks like it's going to be Barack Obama is going to go against John McCain. And I don't know. Barack kind of scares me at this point, because I have a feeling that he's going to be way too, is it liberal? Is that what I'm trying to say, Andrea? Where we're going to be nice to everybody? Yeah. And it's going to be, you're not going to be able to look at somebody cross-eyed without having a hate crime thrown on you, you know? He's going to, you know, and it's not going to matter if you're legal or you're illegal. It's going to, I'm scared at just the way I think he's going to handle things. He's going to make everybody, you know, oh, we're all lovey-lovey. And at this point in history, I don't think the United States can afford to be all lovey-lovey. We have to say, look, we've got to take care of our own. You know, maybe even close the borders. There are countries that have closed the borders and not let any immigrants come in, legal or illegal. Maybe it's time we have to do that. You know, but we need a leader. And I'm not sure if McCain's the right guy or if Obama's the right guy. Somebody was telling me they thought there's been talk that McCain may be picking a woman, is it senator?
Governor.
Well, woman governor of Alaska to be his running mate. And supposedly she's all tough old school type broad, and I don't know. I saw the other guy, the libertarian candidate, Bob Barr, on one of the talk shows the other night too, talking about his platform for smaller government. And the fact that, I mean, he's going to jump right into the mess. A lot of people have compared him to Ralph Nader, back when Ralph Nader ran just to draw votes away from somebody. But I don't know, maybe it is time for, for everybody to vote for the long shot. Vote for somebody that hasn't been in the public eye for 2 years. Bob Barr, he just pops up and says, hey, I want to run for president. I've got some great ideas. Vote for him. He's not all burned out from the whole campaign trail. He might be able to do a good job. It's like the rock band the first day of the tour is a lot better than the rock band the last day of the tour. I'm just saying. All right. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go to camera 2. I'll go to camera 2. How's that? I don't really have much news this week because I actually haven't been paying attention to the news. Started 2 weeks ago when I took my trip to New York, and I'm going to get into the Woodstock part of it. Because I went to, of course, I did a show 4 weeks ago, about the Woodstock Museum and the fact that the concert wasn't held in Woodstock, New York. It was held in Bethel, New York, 50 miles away. So I went out to New York to visit an old guy I grew up with since we were like 4 years old. We were like brothers. And I went to Woodstock, New York. And of course, Woodstock, New York, if anybody's been there, it's one of the coolest places you've ever seen. Small town, hippies everywhere. Long hair, beards, tie-dyes, sandals, not much of a stench. But, I mean, you can tell it's a hippie town. Every little shop on the main street is a little craft store or a little hippie dress shop, A lot of memorabilia from the concert in stores in Woodstock. And I went to Woodstock, and I walked into one of these little hippie stores, and I said, can you give me directions to the concert site? Typical New Hampshire tourist who doesn't even pay attention to what he said a month ago. The guy says, well, it's going to take a little more than a map. It's 50 miles away. Well, I had the whole weekend, so I drove after I purchased a couple of little hippie trinkets. Trinkets, that's the stuff that make the hippies jangle when they walk. It's like love beads and hash pipes and things like that. And they all clang together, and it makes that sound the hippies make. But I drove to Bethel, and the museum hadn't opened yet, but the building was on the hill. The site where the little marker is says this was the original site of Woodstock. Beautiful area. It's all farmlands and fields and ponds. And I sat up there. I got some footage, and I don't have it ready. I'm going to air it. Maybe next week I'll get the Woodstock footage aired on this show. But I just sat down up there. I did my filming. And then I kicked my shoes off, pulled my shirt off, sat down on the grass there, and just looked around the field and imagined what it must have been like back in 1969 with all the hippies. And I got to tell you, with the right motivation, you can still feel the love and smell the pot. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just a thing. And it was in Bethel, there's nothing. There's the site and the museum. There's no place to get memorabilia. Whereas if you go to Bethel, see the site, and then do what all the hippies did in '69, go back to Woodstock. I think some of them are still there. All the original hippies, they just migrated from the concert site back to Woodstock and just kind of hung around there. There's not a stoplight in the entire town or a fast food restaurant. Just it was a nice little town. Narrow streets, no parking meters. I don't know how the city council probably sits on the corner and plays guitar with the guitar case open to earn money for the city. You know? Because it seems to me that's the type of people they are. That they'd have the whole city council, the mayor, and everybody out there doing a little dance, taking in donations, instead of parking meters. Might be a good little gimmick to get some of our Keene councilmen out there on the street, little begging, basically begging for money. Yeah, take a little tax burden off. You know, I mean, just because you're a city councilman doesn't mean you've got any dignity. You know, you should be just as low as the rest of us. And sure, I mean, don't go out and just beg for money. Put on a show for money. Play a little guitar, harmonica, you know, the one-man band thing or whatever. Even mimes. You know, do a little mime show. Trapped in the box in Keene. You know? They throw some money at the city and they could buy nice things. Like a real Mars. Yeah. But anyway, if you're going to take the trip, go to Bethel, see the site, and then go back to Woodstock and enjoy the feel. And it is like stepping back into the 60s. It's really cool. It's not that far away. I think from Keene to Bethel is like 5 hours. So it's a day trip, a long day trip, but you could do it. And I'm going back. I'm leaving after the show tonight, and I'm going back. Because I got film of Woodstock. I got film of Orange County Choppers. But I got back here, and I had intended just to go over and shoot some footage to show some clips on this show. And the Woodstock site is doable on this show because, I mean, you can only do so much with a field, you know, and that's basically what it is. It's the marker, and you read the marker, and you look at the field. So I'll be showing that next week. I'm going to put a little bit of music to it and make a nice clip. But as I was going through the Orange County Chopper footage that I shot, I realized that, you know, it's too much just for a clip on the show. The place is amazing. So I've decided I'm going to start a new series. And I don't know how often I'll be able to get a new episode on, but it's going to be a travel around, and these are things that you can go and do and see within a day's drive of Keene. And Orange County Chopper is going to be my season premiere of the travel show. I'm thinking about calling it Travelin' Bones. Just, I don't know, yeah. Yeah, Greg's got the idea. There's a lot of you other people, I'm sure, will get the connection. And I don't know if that's is that the right expression? The old expression is Travelin' Jones, right? Isn't that what it is, Greg? You got the Travelin' Jones? But I think I'll call it Travelin' Bones, and I've been on the computer editing it down. But I found that I need more footage, and I want more footage. So
for all you aspiring camera crew persons and you know, producers of your own shows, just keep in mind, always get more footage than you think you need.
That's it. That was lesson number one. And Lee told me that this process of doing a show that's edited and put together will be one of the greatest learning experiences of my life, and I'll pick it up quick once I do it the first time. So you use a lot of lessons, and yeah, that first lesson when you're shooting 4.5 hours away, make sure you get more than enough, or else, like, I got back and I went, I was going to get a shot of this bike, and I got sidetracked onto something else, and I never made it back. And, you know, and it's amazing that a guy like Ken Arnold, who does the show Room 207, he does no editing. everything he shows is exactly how he set it up and filmed it. He doesn't put it into a computer. He takes a tape out of the camera, and you see it just as he filmed it. Which is, I mean, it's a great, easy, and once you learn, you know, your basic lessons of figuring out what you want to tell, then that's easy. So, right now, let's tell about crew call. How's that? On camera, well, we got a small crew because Tarzan and Rob this week are off trying to get settled into their new place up in Harrisville. But on camera 3 and doing everything else out here in the studio is Greg, as usual. And in the booth, as usual, Bruce and Andrea.
How's it going out there, Rick?
It's going good. It's nice to see Andrea back.
Yep, Andrea's back. We made it. Sorry we didn't get last week's show off the ground.
Hey.
But
you know,
didn't have any community interest in it, apparently, so...
That's the way it goes.
But we tried to do it, and it would have been a lot of fun. Maybe sometime in the future, once the weather gets a little better, I guess.
Well, the crew won a buttload of door prizes anyway.
That's true. We had some good stuff at the end of the show. So. But
Wow.
it's been a decent week. I got up this morning. I wasn't feeling all that great and kind of blew off work, but was feeling better toward the afternoon and didn't see a reason not to come in and do the fun things in life and do the show. I'll still go to work tomorrow, but kind of felt guilty I didn't make it today, but I'll get over it.
I wouldn't
didn't
feel
miss it
guilty
that
just
much.
yet, but then again, another hospital going without clean needles.
But we had a pretty cool race this week over at Dover.
Oh yeah, it was cool for me for about 16 laps, right?
That's about it.
Yeah.
But we'll let Andrea fill you in.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing Denny go by 3 times.
Yeah, right next to Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Bruce said, it was a cool race. I enjoyed it. I won the money this week.
You had the only driver that was still in the race at the end of it.
I had the only driver. Not only was he still in the race, but he was the only one of our guys that was still on the lead lap. I'll tell you, they call that thing the Monster Mile, and they mean it. There were actually literally 6 guys left on the lead lap. All the rest of them were 1 or more laps down. And they were like 16 laps in when about half the field of the top 12 that are in the chase so far were taken out. They were involved in a wreck, and it affected them all. Now, none of them dropped out of the chase lineup. They're still there, but it scrambled things up a bit. As far as the Dover race went, I'll give you the first 6 guys because they're the only ones that really mattered. There was Kyle Busch, and then I can't believe that little skunk.
You could have done without giving us him.
I know, really. You know, he's such a little worm, and I'll tell you what, people do not like him. There were signs out there saying anybody but Kyle Busch, $50 to the driver that'll take out Kyle Busch. So he's not real well liked, but he can drive. So he ended up winning the race. But then they had, let's see, Carl Edwards, then Greg Biffle had a good finish. Matt Kenseth had one of his best finishes. Jeff Gordon and my guy Martin Truex Jr. came in 6th. And like I said, he was still on the lead lap. All the rest of them were down laps. But
My guy came in first. Ow, right?
Well, Denny came in first the day before the Nationwide. So, see, there was a positive side there. But anyways, like I said, it shook, whoops, I'm all tangled up here. It shook up the chase a little bit, but the first 12 guys are still in it. There's Kyle Busch, Jeff Burton, Dale Jr. stayed right where he was. Those 3 actually did not go anywhere in the standings. Carl Edwards came up 2 places. Greg Biffle came up 6. Jeff Gordon came up 2. Jimmy Johnson, even though he ended up laps down, he came up 2. Then Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, and Casey Kane. So there's your top 12, and you know that in itself was not a bad thing. They really didn't do too awful bad, but like I said, more than half of them ended up in that first wreck that caused some issues. Now the other thing is at Charlotte. So it was a couple weeks back, but it took them this long to really assess the points. There were two cars that got confiscated, and they ended up having to use backup cars. They were both from the Haas racing team, and that was the 66 and the 70. And that's Scott Riggs and Johnny Sauter. Anyways, their spoiler mounts, or what do you call it, the wing mounts, the location wasn't according to NASCAR specifications. Now when they went out there for practice and qualifying, it was where it belonged. It fit the template, but then they did a little adjustment, and what happened is, as it was explained, is that it was adjusted so that it was down towards the car itself. The angle was increased, and that causes more downforce. Well, somebody ratted them out, somebody in the garage area, and there's a lot of speculation that it was somebody right from one of the Haas racing teams. But both the crew chiefs and the car chiefs were suspended for 6 races, and this is the first time they've taken both. Usually it's just the crew chief. This time they said car chiefs also.
Wow.
The crew chiefs each were fined $100,000, and the points, the drivers and the owners lost 150 points each.
Ooh.
Big time. This is the biggest one they've had. So, but it took them a couple weeks to come to terms with that one. Now, one of the other things was Wednesday night, Tony Stewart had his Prelude to the Dream. It's where a lot of the guys go out there and they race on dirt out at Eldora. And his big thing, this is, I think, the 4th year. Well, Tony won it. This is his 2nd time that he's won. And what they're trying to do is they were trying to raise at least $1 million for the new Victory Junction Gang camp that they plan to open out in Kansas City. And anyways, that's pretty much it for NASCAR this week. They'll be heading off to, Poconos this week. And Pocono, actually, if you remember, that was a good track for Denny because he dominated that one year.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was his rookie year. So it ought to be a lot of fun out there. But anyways, that's pretty much it for NASCAR this week.
Well, thank you, Andrea.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, and if you can get that other thing set up, because the other part of my trip last weekend was, like I said, Orange County Chopper. And I've got to tell you, I went in, when I left Keene, I was professional. When I got to that store and walked in there, I was a dumbass tourist with a camera. Pretty much was what I was. But I had my wits about me to get 7 seconds, which completely made the entire weekend worth it. And Andrea, if we could show that 7-second clip. Yeah.
Hi, this is Mikey from Orange County Choppers, and you're watching Channel 8. There you go.
Thanks, man. That's it. 7 seconds made my weekend. I was getting a shot of a bike, and I heard him behind me. And I turned around, and him and a bunch of his buddies were just getting ready to go through a door to who knows where. But I yelled to him and asked him if he had a minute, and I just went up and quickly explained that I do a show on Community Access TV in Keene, New Hampshire, and asked him if he would be kind enough to give me an introduction. And of course, the tourist part of me was kicking in. Because, I mean, here's a TV star, basically. And I didn't want to bother him. And instead of saying, you know, can you give me an introduction and say you're watching Cheshire TV or you're watching Unfiltered, first thing that came out of my mouth was, can you say you're watching Channel 8? Of course, last week I happened to think I should have just had him say, this is Mikey and you're watching TV. Just in case any of you don't realize it. But anyway, yeah. I'm going back this week. Right after the show, I'm heading out. I'm going to get some more footage at Orange County Chopper for the new travel show. I'm going to get back to Bethel and try. The museum opened this past Monday, and I'm going to try and get in there with a camera. Of course, I figure I'm probably looking at $30 to $40 probably just to walk through the door. Because that's, I mean, you're going to pay for doing stuff like that. I don't know what the aquarium, Boston Aquarium or anything like that charges, but they're probably up around $20, $25 to get in. It's at the cost of doing business. It's pretty much what it was. And when I made the decision to go back, especially to Orange County Chopper, they have the 9/11 tribute New York Fire Department bike there that they built on TV. And they have a beautiful display behind the bike of a 9/11 picture and patches from fire departments from all over the country. So when I made the decision to go back, I stopped down at the fire station Tuesday and talked to Gary Lafreniere down there. And I got me a Keene, New Hampshire Fire Department patch to take down and ask them if they'll put on the wall at Orange County Chopper. And Gary Lafreniere, a great guy from the fire department, he said, no problem, we got one kicking around, I'm sure. And he disappeared for a few minutes and came back with a great patch. So I'll see if I can get it put on the wall and get a shot of it on the wall at Orange County Chopper in New York. And now they've done tribute bikes for the fire department, the police department, the guy that used to draw the centerfolds for Easy Rider magazine, Dave Mann. They did a tribute bike for him. They've done charity bikes. The ones I saw down there was the Lance Armstrong bike, the Perkins School for the Blind bike. And I've got all these I'm putting together. Of course, it's the whole editing thing. And it hasn't gone too bad so far. The footage that I got the first weekend, I've got about 17 minutes of the show done and cut to where I want it. I just have to put transitions in, a little bit of music. A bunch of the guys from Orange County Chopper also have a band. Kind of rockin', bluesy kind of band. And while I'm down there this weekend, I'm going to see if I can get the rights to use their music in the show for their piece in the show. So, like I said, it's going to be a travel show, places that you can go around the area. And a lot of people, my mom brought it up to me, you know, a lot of people these days with the price of fuel and oil and the cost of everything else, less people are traveling. The only thing I can say is don't stop traveling because of the price of things. Because all you do when you stop traveling is you stop having the experiences. And that's what it is. If you go to Bethel, New York, go to the site of Woodstock, go into the Woodstock Museum, the knowledge alone that you'll get just from the history lesson will outweigh any price that you pay to get out there. And I'm going to say last weekend when I went out to visit my buddy, I might have spent $200 tops, including gas and food. Gas and food. I slept in a truck stop because I had rented a van. And that's the way to go. You pull into a truck stop, sleep in a truck stop. Truck stops have a restaurant where you can get up and have breakfast. Truck stops also have showers that a lot of them will let you take showers for a small fee. For truck drivers, as long as you buy $100 worth of, or 100 gallons worth of diesel, you can shower for free. But if you don't buy fuel, there's a small price because they have to have somebody that cleans those bathrooms and cleans those shower areas. And they're all very nice. But, you know, you learn to live on the road cheap. You don't have to check into an $80 hotel. Not if you've got a small van with a little air mattress in the back and a sleeping bag. Pull into a rest area. Pull into, you know, if anything, I mean, at the most, pull into a campground and spend the $15 a night for a campground. It's a lot better than $80 for a hotel room. I'm just saying there are ways that you can take trips and see this area that we've got. I got to tell you, upstate New York is beautiful. Around the New Paltz area, there's a ridge line that it filled the windshield with sheer granite cliffs. And I believe the area is called the Gunks. And a lot of rock climbers go there and rock climb. It's along the same lines as Cathedral Ledge up in Conway. But I've got plans to, there's some forts in Maine that I want to go film. Thinking about going to Messina, New York, up to the Eisenhower Locks, and filming that whole thing with the ships, the great cargo ships that come through there and go up the St. Lawrence River. I mean, there are so many things around here. I went by signs going through Connecticut. Sikorsky Museum, the helicopter museum. You know, it's 3 hours away. Get out of your house, get off your couch, get out and enjoy some of the great things that are right in our area to do. So, I mean, that's why I'm going back, because there's more I want to film, there's more I want to do. While I was up there, though, I mentioned the main reason for my trip was to visit a buddy that grew up here in Keene. He's a safety engineer. His last job, he was a safety engineer in the tunnels in New York City with the Sandhogs. And he lived in Pine Bush, New York, which is just northwest of Newburgh. Beautiful area, a lot of horse farms. He's got a couple of horses. He's got chickens, 3 kids, and the kids are homeschooled. Oh, I see it's that time, isn't it? And I'm jumping ahead of myself. Because it's time for the musical interlude. Yeah, I'll talk about homeschooling afterwards. But right now, let's go to the Mom's Tattoo musical interlude.
Okay, dude, this is a rock and roller, so got news for you. This is a song about our adventures in Iraq. It's called "Rolling Towards Baghdad." Look over here, take your eyes off the ball. Pay no attention if you please. Nothing to fear now that I'm in control. No need to listen to your pleas. Rolling towards Baghdad, baking in the desert sun. Rolling towards Baghdad, going after Saddam. Gonna get some mileage out of it, you know. Gonna get some mileage out of it, you know. I'll lower taxes while we spend. A deficit won't bother me. Plenty of soldiers I will send to help fulfill my destiny. Rolling towards Baghdad, baking in the desert sun. Rolling towards Baghdad, going after Saddam. Gonna get some mileage out of it, you know. Gonna get some mileage out of it, you know. Here we go. I'll scorch the earth, she's a means to the end. Don't take offense at my disease. I mean the best, or at least I pretend. Reality is such a tease. Rolling towards Baghdad, baking in the desert sun. Rolling towards Baghdad, going after Saddam. Rolling towards Baghdad, baking in the desert sun. Rolling towards Baghdad, going after Saddam. Gonna get some mileage out of it, you know. Gonna get some mileage out of it, you know. Oh no! Thank you.
Yeah, that was the Paperbacks. And if any of you happen to catch a bit of deja vu, that's the same clip that we used 2 weeks ago in the episode that we had the sound glitches, problems with the sound. It happens. Like I said, 80s, it's episode 82. Someday we'll get one perfect. Or not. Anyway. I started. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to prove that we don't edit. You know, I don't fancy stuff up for you people. This is what it's really like. And if you come down here to make a TV show, you sit here, it's just this easy. It's pretty much what it is. You don't have to fool with nothing. Come in, if it comes out good, it comes out good. If not, hey, you try again. That's all there is. Oh, I did catch Unprotected Socks. Bruce and I watched a little bit of that this afternoon. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. Some of it was a little weird. But I got to tell you, for all you people that just immediately click a show off during the credits, Take the time and watch the credits for Unprotected Socks. Some huge names in there, yeah. Impressive people working on that show, I got to tell you. Yeah. Hello, I haven't been over here yet. All right, so I started to say before the musical interlude that Bob's kids, 3 girls, are all homeschooled. And, you know, homeschooling's been around for a while. I had a couple of my first guests were homeschooled kids. But I never really thought of it until I spent the weekend with my friend and his family. He's got a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. They're all 3 years apart. The 13-year-old, every morning, gets up. No alarm clock. She just gets up when it's time to get up, early in the morning, and immediately gets out of bed, puts on the farm boots, and takes care of the horses. Every single day. This girl doesn't come up with excuses. She doesn't pull the cover over her head and say, you know, oh, I don't feel like it today. Every single day, she gets up and takes care of her horses. And they're hers. The other two, the 2 younger ones, are a little more rambunctious because they're young and they tend to fight for people's attention. So they kind of outdo each other. Some of the funniest, most imaginative kids I've ever met. I mean, they do voices. They do, I mean, just off-the-wall gags, you know? And the TV in their house rarely gets turned on. I was shocked. I walked in and one of the kids was sitting with a book, reading in the middle of the afternoon. And it was either that or it was first thing in the morning, out the door they went. Because they live on 5 acres up there and there's a little creek that goes through the backyard. These girls could pick up bugs and could tell you what they were. They know. As a matter of fact, one of the girls, the middle girl, had grabbed a leaf off of a tree and she was going to go wave it to get the horses' attention. Because that's a game they play. They go out into the horse pasture and get the horses to chase them. Like you would a dog. And the horses do. But she started out into the pasture with this leaf. And the oldest daughter said, no, don't use that leaf. Those leaves aren't good for horses. I didn't know that. I mean, these are smart kids. When a 7-year-old walks into the house with one of the chicks and walks up to her mother and says, Mom, this chick has a tick next to its beak. Yeah, 7 years old. Knows that kind of thing. They're homeschooled. So I'm thinking, this is the way. We said grace. I had Sunday dinner with them. We said grace. They don't go to church. They're not overly religious people. But they've taught their kids that you say grace before you sit down for a meal. You know? Your kid won't learn that in a public school. A public school will never say you should give thanks before you eat. It doesn't matter who you give thanks to. You can thank God. You can thank the earth. You know, you can thank the guy at the slaughterhouse that pulled the trigger. You know? But be thankful. They don't teach that in school. You know, they don't teach respect for life. You know, not the way that my friend and his wife are teaching their kids. You know, you respect things. The smallest little insect is worth as much as the biggest person. It's all part of a cycle. And everything has its place. And that's just the way that it is. I mean, public schools, everybody complains about the school budgets are out of control. The government is basically telling you, here, this is what your kids have to learn. You have to learn your math and your algebra and your trigonometry and your history, and they only teach you half of history. They only teach you the history that they want you to know. They leave out the bad parts, like slavery these days, and the fact that the white men slaughtered the Indians for this land, that this land didn't belong to us. We just came in and took it over, as arrogant as we were. You know, stupid Indians, get out of here. You know, we're much more civilized and educated than you, so you don't deserve to be here. It's stupid, is what it is. And we're bringing our kids up to not even learn, you know. Oh no, we never did that. We never stole this land. We traded fair and square. Yeah, traded fair and square. It's like a college graduate trading with a kindergartner, you know. Hey, I'll give you a shiny penny if you'll give me all the candy that you've got in your pockets. You know, and if a 5-year-old doesn't know any better, the Indians didn't know any better. They just went, wow, the white guy's got a lot of cool looking stuff. Stuff that we don't have. So, I don't know. But I think homeschooling is you know, one of the ways that we can actually take back our future. You know, homeschool your kids. Teach them, you know, teach them to read. Teach them the math that they need. You know, and if a kid is going to go into a specialty where math needs to be, where they need more math skills, well then they will pick up those as they go. You know, but from, you know, especially your early years, you teach your kids the more important things. And I believe, you know, teaching kids about respect and about the cycle of life and the fact that everything lives and dies and that whole aspect of things is more important than, you know, whether you've got the verb in the right place or not. You know, or whether your past tense verbiage, or, you know, if you're not mixing tenses in your sentences. Who cares, you know? I was told in a writing class, write the way that you talk. But a lot of people don't write the way they talk. They write different than the way they talk. That's what makes reading so hard. Is you read something, and I've read books where you read a line and you go, wait a minute, and you read it a couple more times, and just the way that two words look together is a lot different than the way two words sound together. But anyway, I think it was the whole point that I started thinking that, you know, this could be the answer. You know, save the community's money. You know, form little homeschool groups is what they've done in New York. With my friend, they belong to a little homeschool group, and they go and do things where the kids get their social skills. But they were close as a family, which is the reason that my buddy left his job in New York, and they're in the process of moving to Maine. He's going to go to work for the Bath Iron Works because he doesn't want a 4-hour commute in the afternoon to get home. He wants more time with his kids while his kids are still kids. And he's taken a cut in pay by about half to achieve that. So it's, you know, it's really a scary thing. He's one of these dudes that he works for a huge a huge construction company, and as a safety engineer makes better than $100,000 a year. He was on a project in Virginia. They told him, you're going to be here for 10 years on this project. Some big airport tunnel or something down there. So he said, all right, I'm going to be here 10 years. I've got a wife and kids. Or at that point, I guess he had a wife and one kid. He said, I'll buy a house. So he bought a house. 2 years into the job, they transferred him. He put the house up on the market and he can't sell it because of the real estate market right now. Meanwhile, they moved in, they transferred him from Virginia to New York. So what's the guy going to do? He's got to have a house for his family. He bought another house. Now he's going up to Maine, stuck in the mortgage crunch, hoping that one of them sells. And it's just, he was so stressed out. And he says, you know, I just need to, he's actually seriously thinking about closing down all his bank accounts, drawing all his money out of all his 401k stuff, and moving out into the woods and hunkering down in a compound kind of a situation. You know? I mean, which is in Maine, yeah, you can do that. You start your own little country right there, you know? Homestead. Take care of yourself. And these are people that are appalled at their neighbor, who is a New York City firefighter. But he's a New York guy. He's one of these people, you know, that he's got the big house in the country, and a truck will pull up into his yard and dump off a couple of trees ready to be planted. And this guy just won't go out and dig a hole and plant his trees. This guy hires somebody to come and plant his trees. Yeah. I saw him all day this Saturday that I was there. This dude spent all day mowing his lawn on a riding tractor. All day. And I saw him going over the same spots again and again and again. And he's just one of these rich New York cats. And he kind of looks down on my friends because they've got a yard full of chickens and a couple of horses and a vegetable garden. But he doesn't. If this cat next door wants vegetables, he goes down to the Hannafords and buys the vegetables. Meanwhile, Bob and Melissa go out to the garden and pick their vegetables. You know, go out to the barn in the morning and collect their eggs. And I got to tell you, fresh eggs, nothing beats them. Nothing in the world beats fresh chicken eggs. All right. But anyway, I think, you know, if you're upset with the school system, take things into your own hands, homeschool your kids. The fact is, a lot of parents are too lazy to homeschool their kids because it is a lot of work. But anyway, that's just what I think. Homeschool your kids. You teach them what you want them to learn. You know, teach them the things that schools aren't allowed to teach. All right, let's get some fun and interesting, useless information out of the way here. The last few minutes of the show. And I saw a couple of good ones. Isaac Asimov, the science fiction writer, is the only author to have a book in every Dewey Decimal category. And I don't even know if they use the Dewey Decimal System anymore now with computers. For 66% of Americans who admit to reading in the bathroom, the preferred reading material is Reader's Digest. Condensed versions. Yeah. Short stories. Sometimes you got to read 2 of them, though. In the Bible, the book of Esther is the only book that does not mention the name of God. Look it up. The Bible has been translated into Klingon. And according to Genesis 1:20 through 22, the chicken came before the egg. I'll say that again. Genesis 1:20 through 22. The chicken did come before the egg. All right. A 17th century Swedish philologist claimed that in the Garden of Eden, God spoke Swedish, Adam spoke Danish, and the serpent spoke French. Not a one of them spoke Spanish, not a one of them spoke English. Although Swedish is pretty close to English, isn't it? All right.
I don't know.
How about this? A cubic mile of fog is made up of less than a gallon of water. A cubic mile. Buzz Aldrin was the first man to pee his pants on the moon. Apparently Neil Armstrong could hold it longer. Neil Armstrong took the first step, Buzz Aldrin took the first pee. And it does say to pee his pants. I don't know who was the first one to actually go around the corner and unzip onto the strut of the ship.
Write the name on it.
But yeah, write their name on the moon. Yeah, it probably would have been a messy thing. Yeah. I had some other good ones. The largest, no, not that one. The sale of vodka makes up 10% of Russian government income. It's kind of like New Hampshire. They got a couple of vodka stands on the interstate or whatever. Ted Turner owns 5% of New Mexico. That's a lot. Where's another good one I had? Some Eskimos have been known to use refrigerators to keep their food from freezing. Yeah. Apparently up there, if you're an Eskimo, you don't want your food to freeze, put it in the fridge. A 60-minute cassette contains 565 feet of tape.
1 minute.
1 minute, huh? All right. Virginia Woolf wrote all her books standing up. Bad back, I think. And Guinness World Records holds the record for being the book most often stolen from public libraries. So the Guinness Book of Records does have a record. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Up next on No Spin, Paul Krautman is going to join Randy and Chris. Some people may remember him as Dr. Krautman. He was a dentist in Keene. Other people may remember him as Sir, as he's an officer in the Army Reserve who served in Iraq. So he's going to be on with Chris and Randy. Want to thank my crew, thank Mom's Tattoo, Gemini Screen Print. Till next week.
Hi, this is Mikey from Orange County Choppers, and you're watching Channel 8.
There you go.
Thanks, man.
Yep.